Hi everybody, thank you. Hope everyone's had a good morning so far for those that are here in the morning, and having a good lunch. Hope you enjoyed the last session as well. So if it's a bit cold in here, I may get you to all stand up and do some squat thrusts or exercises to keep us warm, but if the temperature's too cold, we'll find it from here. So as Max said, my name's David Sargent. I work at Customer Success here at Cloudinary, so it's my great privilege and pleasure to be here today and talk to you about our topic, together with colleague Reinhard Holzner from Smint, who's the CEO for Smint.io. So as Max said, we're talking about tackling dynamic asset collaboration and full team distribution. So I'm going to start with a number. So 65% of you have no idea. And this is always a good one. 65% of you no idea about what. It's a big number. No idea about what you're having for dinner this evening. No idea if you'll be getting home tonight if the train drivers go on strike again. But we believe that, unless you have planned for and managed your business in a way to truly collaborate with your teams, with your partners, with your stakeholders, that you're missing out on significant operational savings. Forgive me, Ron, I'm walking in front of you. Over the course of this session, over the next 40 minutes, we'll hopefully be sharing some ideas, some insights as to why we believe that kind of collaboration, managing your assets, making your content active, making it live, is a crucial thing for all businesses to consider and plan for as they go forward. Now, operating a business online means you'll be facing many sort of trends, many sort of new ideas, changes in the marketplace. You can see here we're talking about connectivity, collaboration, mobile apps, increased pressure to do more with less, responding to AI. Who here has played with ChatGPT already? Some people, it's all good fun. So again, AI is stealing a march on these things. So all of these trends that are affecting today's organizations soon become what we have to plan for and manage as part of our organizations going forward. Now, it's interesting, is preparing for this session, one of the things we look at is, what is industry telling us? What are the analysts looking at? So we know that McKinsey did a report around the next generation operating model, where they surveyed a whole bunch of their clients that they work with. And what they reported is less than 30% confirm that they have a collaborative mindset, a collaborative operating structure inside their organization. So they're missing out on truly getting those benefits around working together and activating what they have as their digital assets and managing. Another example was a report from Deloitte in Australia, who recently had a report generated called the Collaborative Economy, where they actually worked out that the value of collaborating between different teams with different assets, with different workflows, has a net value contribution of $46 billion to the economy. $46 billion. So this is significant numbers we're talking about. Clearly, the power of collaboration is important. So when we think about collaboration as well, we talk about creating value. It's about moving ideas. It's around sharing concepts. It's working together on an output. It's making sure that we can connect the dots between what we want to have. So we believe that with Cloudinary platform, together with our strong partners like we have with Smint.io, that we're ideally positioned to help you maximize on that opportunity that collaboration and dynamic asset can give you as an organization. So today we're going to be sharing with you our vision. We've got 3 talking points today. One is really just reinforcing the collaboration imperative. We're also going to be talking about tackling dynamic asset distribution and activating your content, making your content live. We don't want it to sit in silos and SharePoint in different areas or in a DAM that doesn't get the light of day. Talk about how we can activate that content. And then leaving you hopefully with some critical success factors, those top 5 things that you need to think about and consider as part of your business. So, the collaboration imperative. So we believe that businesses and organizations need to keep up with today's digital consumers. Every business leader is tasked with greater efficiencies. And some of those things we're looking at is around competitive threats. Every business has to keep moving forward. There's always another company coming forward. There's more startups happening, digital natives being launched. So we have to be more collaborative, be more agile, activate our content to stave off that competitive threat. We also operational agility. Again, we have, as we showed on some of that trend slide, distributed work teams, people in different areas. We have a greater reliance now on partners, on third parties, people outside our organization. So we need to be more operationally agile. So how do we do that? There's a real collaborative need there for being being operationally agile. And then we have stakeholder expectations. I think one of the greatest things that's happened since the COVID and the pandemic is we all work from home. and that was fantastic, but we all then start bleeding the edges between our business lives and our home lives and our commercial lives or consumer lives. So the expectations we have when we use our applications and we work together is I want my experience I have as an individual, as a consumer, I want the same sort of experience, the same sort of expectation in my work life. So we have different expectations that we need to manage, and that goes from internal teams to our partners and to others within our business. But where do we start? So we believe that kind of the assets you work so hard to create, they can't stand still. This is that concept of you work very, very hard with creative teams, whether that's internal teams or external teams, and you work hard to bring those assets in. You have them enriched with metadata from different systems, be that an enterprise resource planning system or a product management system. You're enriching your content with that, and you need to make it work hard and be quick. You need to get it active. You can't have your content stand still. So there's an element of speed. We talk about time to market, we talk about accelerating time to value. All of these things mean we have to go faster. And so having active content allows us to do those things. Complexity as well, we know most businesses are seldom straightforward. So again, we need to make sure that our content is moved around. We don't just have kind of static pieces of digital media around. We have to make sure that we manage that complexity, whether we're putting content for customer campaigns, marketing events, social media campaigns. We need to make sure that we can respond quickly and efficiently. And then rigidity. Again, your digital real estate, whether that's your websites, your kind of microsites, your brands, it all needs to be kind of reflective and responsive. So we need to make sure that our content isn't rigid. We then look at kind of orchestration. So again, all those different things, right? So we have many people in our teams. We have our internal creative teams. We have our marketeers. We have our brand managers. We have product people. We may even have legal, finance, customer success. We may have people externally to us, partners, brand providers, PR companies. We need to orchestrate the content we have and make sure that we deliver that in a way that is controlled and governed in a secure way. Those applications that those people then use may be very, very different. Today we've had great fun mixing kind of Apple MacBooks and Windows presentations together. And that's just a very small thing. But again, different people working in different systems, some in a big Adobe house, some may not be, some maybe use their own in-house tools. We need to make sure that we're responding our content in a way that those applications can consume it. Then we look at those devices as well, and we talk about the Mac versus kind of Windows argument. We need to make sure that the content we have is available, can be surfaced up in a way that people can consume. So all that needs to be orchestrated. And crucially, everyone has a context. Everybody has an idea. As I said, we talked earlier about we're mixing our kind of consumer behaviors, our consumer expectations with our professional ones. And I want the experience I have when I'm using kind of iCloud or kind of Google storage. I want that sort of similar expectation around how I work together. So I'm going to want my content personalized to me. I want my content how I want it when I want it. I want it to be intelligent as well. So we talk about new product campaigns, the new product launches. A lot of you here are probably managing those things. We want the systems that we have and the collaborative tools that we use to make sure that we share the content in the right possible way and only kind of when we want people to have it. And then real time. Gone are the days when people used to send 5.5-inch floppy disks around or a USB stick or, dare I say it, kind of, WeTransfer and those sorts of things. Complex, rigid, they're full foul of things. Security people hate WeTransfer, I'm sure. So again, it's making sure how do we avoid that? How do we be more collaborative in a way that kind of is supported by our organization? So Great Expectations. Who's here is watching Great Expectations with this? Anyone? Just me? Excellent, good stuff. So I'm only halfway through, so don't spoil the ending for me. But when I was growing up, I loved TV and movies. I loved kind of that anticipation of waiting for something to happen. I'm going to be told a story, I'm going to see my favorite actor, I'm going to be kind of entertained for the next few moments. And that anticipation was coming. And I knew that what was going to be shared with me was going to be exciting. Now I'll play this. Who here remembers this or knows this? Everyone sees this? Okay, so get ready. Okay. I love this. So this from an expectation. Sorry. This from an expectation. I've never been outstaged by a lion. This from an expectation perspective was the opening credits, for the MGM film studios. So it first appeared in July 1928 when they did this. Now, when I was a young kid, I always wondered, how do they do that, right? Now, this is how they did that. Now, this is a guy called, the line's called Slats. He's one of the first lines they did with this one. You can imagine being the cameraman or the sound operator here. If these guys in the corner, they've got an easy job, right? They've got no chance of me jumping over there and trying to bite the head off. Now, there's an urban legend that says, actually, that lion went crazy and did actually attack the studio and kill 2 people. Don't know if it's true or not, but it's a funny story. So anyway, Expectations. Clearly, we have to manage the expectations of this guy's slats to make sure that we do what he wants to do. So again, everybody has a context, everybody has an idea, people need to be treated and managed. Hopefully none of your customers will jump up and bite your heads off. This image, everyone recognize this show? Yeah, absolutely. So The Apprentice. So players in this show, if you watch it, they work together on teams. There's normally a project manager, there's a team that gets kind of created, and they all have to work together and collaborate over an output. Again, those that are the better ones at collaboration and moving the ideas around, working together, are the ones that typically succeed. So again, collaboration wins the output, wins the game. And this is where we're going to do dynamic output distribution. So he's saying, David, great, you've told me about the imperative. You've told me why collaboration is important, why activating our content is important. Staving off that competitive threat, keeping our content active, keeping it moving, making sure we respond to our stakeholder expectations. So we're now saying, so what is that? How do we bring that into what we're talking about today here at Cloudinary? So this is kind of where we have, you may be kind of obviously familiar with kind of the Cloudinary system. Traditional DAM systems that we have allow us to manage and store our content ready to be shared internally with our teams, whether that's internal creative teams, marketeers, brand managers, product managers, and so on, and also being able to share externally to outside our system. Now a dynamic DAM platform like Cloudinary, we have the ability to share folders and we share collections, but it's going beyond that. What else can we do? And in today's busy and complex times, we want to make sure that we can achieve all of those imperative things that we talked about just a few moments ago. So by making use of kind of Cloudinary's DAM system, Cloudinary's asset system, we can now start working with our ecosystem with partners like Cement.io and really accelerate, get us to that next level to make sure we bring our game into kind of our working with our partners. How do we get that competitive advantage? How do we seize that opportunity? So all about making your assets live, making your assets move, and activating your content. So I'm going to stop now. I'm going to hand over to Reinhard. He's going to explain a little bit more about how your content can be activated.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Reinhard. I'm coming from Austria. I'm founder and CEO of the company Cement.io. And yeah, so I'm invited here to continue this story of content collaboration and content activation and tell you our perspective on it. So while in Cloudinary, as a DAM system, as a dynamic DAM system, the things go very much about delivering the right asset in the right format and so on. We are actually talking about the topic of content activation. So we see at the end that the content is living somewhere and we want to get it out to the user, and we say the content needs to be active, as you said before. So what does that mean? So here you see us, all of us, at least how a stock photo provider would actually understand us or see us. We are employees. I'm an employee in my company, you're employees in your company, and all of us, we're working together. We're engaged, we want to make our businesses more successful and much better than yesterday, especially in the online world. And in order to achieve this goal, we produce a lot of things. We have important tasks in marketing and PR. We produce a lot of content. We produce images, logos, presentations. We produce price lists, data sheets, Excel sheets, and so on and so on. And for what we produce, for what we make, we invest a lot of time and energy. So it's actually our love, our whole energy we put into creating this awesome content. I'm doing that as well at our company. So I'm CEO, I'm making a pitch deck, for example. I'm sending it to the investors. It costs me a lot of time, and I want this pitch deck to be successful. I want this pitch deck to reach the audience that it is intended for. But also at Cement.io, we use CI elements, battle sheets, and so on. You know it. Yeah, and while we are investing a lot of time and love into creating that content, it only makes sense if it's being used. That content is not very useful. In that case, our time and energy would just be wasted. So what we want then is that our content is alive, that it has meaning, that it is productive, and this is what we call content is active. But what happens in very many cases, unfortunately, our work is not being used, our work is not being meaningful, our work is not reaching the target audience that it is intended for. Actually, there's studies that say 70% of the content that sits in our systems that we created with love and energy is not being used in the way it should be used. For an example, the price list is still being used in the old version and not in the new version. Or for an example, the new sales presentation is not even being looked at because the people are running around with the old one, and so on. This means the work that we invested is wasted. And I don't want to happen that to me as well, because, for example, if my pitch deck isn't being used, if it's not being watched at the newest version, I will not be able to fundraise and maybe my company goes bankrupt. So this is not the thing that I would be very happy about. I want that all our content, also in our own company, is working for me and for our company to be effective. Now you would say, what? That can't be. It can't be that the content is so inactive. We have a lot of systems to take care about that. We have our content management system, we have our PIM system, we have our DAM system. Those tools are there to take care that the content is active and goes out to the audience. Or not. Let me use a small analogy to get the answer to the question to you. Imagine when you go shopping today, like here for a watch, you are used to great shopping experiences. In the shopping mall, even online, we are really spoiled and we have a lot of experience that helps us consume products that we want to have. But of course, the goods that you see here, they are not produced in the shop. The goods are produced in the factory, then they're moving to the warehouse, and from the warehouse, they are going to the shop, and there you can buy them. Now imagine if you would have to go there to shop, if you would have to go there to get your watch. Would you enjoy that? Or would you say, hey, I don't want to run miles through this easels to find my watch? I think we all agree that's not a proper shopping experience. So let's stick with the proper shopping experience. I think we all agree in that. That's the better experience to shop for physical products. But in our companies, we also have factories and warehouses not only for our physical products, we have it also for the digital products. So we have our factories and warehouses for our information and for our content. And let's call that, for example, we have our digital factories, and from there it goes to the digital warehouse. What examples do we have for such digital warehouses? It's, for example, our Cloudinary, the content management, the PIM, the SharePoint, and so on, all those systems. This is our digital factories. This is our digital warehouses that we use, and that is good, because we need something to organize and manage, to keep everything in order, to keep the chaos out of our organization, so that we can stay deliverable also on the digital side. So it's important to have those tools. But the only problem right now is that sometimes we send our content customers to our digital content warehouse to shop our digital content. Really? Of course, you will not do that to your end consumers. To your end consumers, you have a nice marketing website and everything. Everything is fine. But imagine our employees, imagine our partners, imagine our vendors, resellers, our journalists, even our investors. Sometimes we send them to places that we wouldn't expect our consumers to go. And what is the effect of this? People that have the expectations from the consumer market, especially after COVID, they will have experience they don't like, they are not happy with, that are not modern, that are not branded, that are somehow strange to them. And what's the result is? Often the people will accept that. And they will have to accept it because there's no other way. But they will not be happy with it. Sometimes they will develop workarounds. In every company we know it. People doing all strange things to get things done. But eventually they will just stop consuming the content, stop consuming the information. And our goods, our information, our content that we have in the warehouse is just stuck there. It falls asleep. It loses the meaning. It loses its effectiveness. And it becomes inactive. Now, of course, you would say, let's avoid this problem. We want to keep our content alive. We want to keep it active. And we want to activate the content that is not active right now. So the content has to get out of the warehouse. And this is exactly what we call the process of content activation. Content activation means getting the content from the warehouse to the content consumer and keep it active and alive. And when we talk about, or when I talk about content activation for business audiences, I mean it's about activating that content for our business audiences, which is like our employees, our partners, vendors, resellers, journalists, investors, and so on, those who want to use our content. But how can we achieve that content activation for our business audiences? That's the question. Again, it is clear we need the digital warehouse. The digital warehouse is important to organize ourselves. It's important that we can bring order into the chaos so that we remain deliverable on our digital side. For our tasks, creation and management is the perfect environment. But for business target groups that need something more like this, our digital warehouse is not the right experience. It's not the right solution to deliver the content. For these target groups, we have to get the content out of the warehouse. And for this target group, we even have to stop thinking about warehouses or factories. What if we start to think that our content is actually a product of our company? What if we start seeing our business audiences at consumers and customers of our company in relation to our content, whether they're employees or not? Isn't it then logical that we say, if this is a content product and this is a content consumer, that we have a content shopping experience for those audiences? Let's call it a content store. And this is exactly what we at Mint are doing. We developed a concept from that, and it's called smart content stores. So we're not talking about charging for content, but we are talking about changing the mental mindset. We are talking about replacing the warehouse-oriented mindset with a customer-centric model. The nice thing is, as soon as we change our mind and we go away from the warehouse thinking into the customer-oriented thinking, a whole solution horizon opens up for us. We can suddenly transfer all our experiences from our customer side that we have already into our world of the smart content stores. And this allows us to address the topic of content activation by using exactly the same methods that we use for activating our physical products. So we can, with this analogy, we can change our way of thinking. So we move from a world of problems into suddenly a world of solutions. And at Minto, we map this new world of solutions in a concept called the House of Content Activation. So this solution world is actually this house with the basement and the pillars and the roof. So this house illustrates the solutions that we can have and how we can activate our content in a customer-oriented manner. And let me very shortly go into the most important solution approach for content activation, which is the experience, of course. So as we already mentioned, our content is a valuable product. And in relation to our content, our business target groups are our content consumers. And as a result, we found out that the concept of a smart content store would be a nice thing. And clearly, it is then important that our smart content store has a great digital experience that meets the needs of our content consumers in terms of design, style, and usability. And the store has to correspond to our corporate identity, and it has to ensure a seamless brand engagement. Of course, we also have to take into account that then we have different target groups. We don't only have one type of user. We have our employees, we have our vendors, and so on and so on. And even we have different age groups in a company. Like we have the young people. The young people expect completely different things than those that are maybe grown up a longer time ago and are maybe more willing to accept a weaker digital experience. So this is meaning that we also have to provide a customized smart content store for each of those different target audiences, and it needs to be really hitting home on that certain target group. And it's clear we need the different experiences, but we don't want to build a separate warehouse for each of those target groups. So we need one warehouse, and from there we can go into all those different experiences for our target groups. So the basis of the House of Content Activation is then the experience. Because I said, without experience, everything is nothing. It's one saying that I like to say. So we recognize that not only do our consumers need customized experiences, but also, for example, our employees, and so on and so on. But as you see, our house of smart content, our house of content activation is not yet done. So there's a lot of columns that are still existing here. There's even a roof. The time in this session today is too short to go into it. But you see that the experience is just one part of it. And we have a lot of other things that we need to take care about if we really want to activate our content. But when you build that complete house, that's our assumption. When you build that complete house, you really have tackled that problem of content activation for your company. And you have then successfully graduated and made your company into a company that is also dealing with their content consumers as they would do with their end consumers. And when the smart content store is complete, your content lives, your content is active, it has meaning, and it creates value for the company. Because it is a fact, that's our company slogan, businesses only thrive when their content is alive. So thank you. Over to David again.
Thanks very much. So thanks. So some great ideas there, and hopefully we've given you some ideas around activating your content and that imperative that making your content live, thinking about your stakeholders, thinking about the context, making it intelligent, personalized is important, which is why we want to make sure that the content we have lives, doesn't stay in that kind of 70% that just stays below the radar. So hopefully we've given you some ideas around something to think about when you get back to your offices, when you get back to your locations and speak to your colleagues, is around, well, what do we do? How do we happen? So well, hopefully we're giving you that support for that collaboration and for your goals around content activation. And I always try and put in a slide of Harry and Meghan in my presentations at the moment because I think they're kind of great people. So like these two people, you're probably thinking, we've made some big decisions. We've decided to change something. And now we have to live with those decisions. So now you're probably thinking, okay, we've pulled the trigger, now what? Oops, you know. Who else is going to the coronation in a couple of weeks? Just me? Okay, fine. Okay, so you're probably thinking, what should we do? What's our priority? How do we seize this opportunity? We talked about that kind of $46 billion, that report happened. So there's a power of collaboration, a power of content activation, as Reinhard said, you know, we need to build that foundation, think about how we're going to disseminate that content amongst our different teams. But don't worry, we've got some ideas for you, which is why you're here. So, I always get into this moment, I want to feel like top of the pops rundown. So I always want to have like Gary Davis in the back corner, for those who remember Gary Davis. So top 5 critical success factors. My clicker's not working. So what we would say is use the best-in-class DAM platform. So you're probably thinking, who's that then? Well, that's us. So naturally, right? We think we have the best DAM platform out there, our intelligent dynamic asset platform that we believe can be a great help. So number 1, choose the best. Number 2, organize and have organized and structured content. As Reinhard said, we talk about that chaos of systems. You know, if any of you have gone through, hopefully most of you have gone through our onboarding process, we talk a lot about metadata, structure, content. Think about how your organization will access that content. So these things are, again, one of those foundations, one of those pillars around having organized and structured content for you. This is just an example. I use these photos, one, because it's a great illustration of how to organize and manage your content, and also because it gives me a chance to talk about my favorite football team. So Stevenage FC, you know, challenging for League 2 promotion this year, so long may that happen, because, cool, blimey, we need a bit of success. So you can see here we've got folders over on the left, we've got content that we can see, we're using kind of metadata, we're using tagging, we're doing all those things we want to have. We're organizing, we're structuring our content in a good, meaningful way. We then go on to our third point, using metadata, both human and AI generated. So we talk a lot around your business, your organization will have controlled vocabulary. There'll be certain key terms that you have. Our colleagues from Marks and Spencer's will be talking about products and seasons and ranges. You know, we'll have other colleagues from travel industries. We'll be talking about kind of countries, regions, resorts, and things like that. So you all have your controlled vocabulary, things that are unique to you. So we need to think about that when we talk about organizing that content for us. Talk about AI generated. One of the great things around Cloudinary is that we have an amazing capability to leverage a lot of our partner technologies to automatically, using artificial intelligence, view those images and extract some of those keywords. And again, if you live and breathe in our systems like we do, you'll see those little tags populate, and they're really, really helpful to help us identify and manage the content we're looking for. So again, use metadata, human and AI generated. And here's a slightly different image. I didn't want to overload you with Stevenage Football Club pictures, so I chose a different one. But you can see here we've got tags coming through, we've got season information, product, campaign types. We then start entertaining ideas around buyouts and expiry dates and those sorts of good stuff. So managing those things is always important, always useful. Then come to number 4 in our rundown. I was going to do a list of 10 things, but I figured that might take too long and you might get bored, so I kept it to 5. Understand your customer's context. So as Reinhard talked about in his slide, which I've shamelessly stolen here, everyone has a context. Everybody has a different need of your content. So what your creative teams want to deliver, you need to think about how my product managers receive that. If I'm going to be sharing that with a partner to using an offline capability, how do I make sure that I'm delivering the right file to them? Think about color space transformations and all that kind of good stuff. So think about the context, think about how your users would be, and service that. Be a service provider to those stakeholders. Understand the context, understand what they're looking to get to. Then talk about delivering the best experience. And again, I think hopefully today what we've talked about is people are more and more bringing their expectations of what I have in my personal life, what I do in my kind of consumer life, when I'm engaging with Spotify, if I'm engaging with iCloud or Google Photos. I want to have that similar experience when I'm working in my day job. So again, the experience is fundamentally crucial, which is why having beautiful kind of content stores, as Reinhard showed, is a paramount thing to really making sure that you engage with those stakeholders. And again, this is a great example where the Smint.io can have that capability, can fulfill that need for you as well. So there we are. So our top 5 kind of critical success factors. And hopefully, if you kind of take nothing else away from today, other than that amusing story about the lion killing his trainer, these are the top 5 things that you should leave you with. So use a best-in-class platform, have organized and structured content, and if you need any help with that, please do reach out to your custom success. Your Cloudinary contact will help you with those. Using metadata, human and AI generated, again, a tremendous ability to help kind of your users find what they're looking for, navigate to that content. Understanding your customer's context. So again, think about who am I servicing? We are all providers of content, providers of information. Who am I delivering this to? Who's my customer? Think about what they need, how they want it, when they want it, making it real, intelligent, real time, personalized. And then deliver that best experience. So again, we all have those expectations. We all want to be, delighted and excited and entertained and enthused about what we work with. So think about how we deliver that content to them. And then lastly, if you do all those things that Reinhard and I have spoken to you about today, hopefully you'll no longer be in that 65% bracket and you'll move out and you'll be those ones that really do have an idea about how to make your content active and live and be a great asset, pardon the pun, to your organization. So that's it. We're a little bit ahead of time. So thank you so much for your attendance, and we're all good. Thank you.